There were a bunch of different stimulus laws and plans. The very first one, which I believe was called the TARP, I did support. And that's one thing my opponent voted against. And that, I believe, was critical, even though the jury was somewhat out on that, because we had a real credit crisis. And we did need to make sure that our financial system did not collapse. So that original TARP was voted, I would have voted for. Since then, all these stimulus packages, I think, are really not much more than just pork. It's people finally gotten an excuse to spending all their pet projects. And as far as stimulating the economy, I see nothing. I remember, I think a year ago, I got a check for $250. What's that going to do for the economy? You know, it probably cost $500 to send me the check for $250. They took my taxes and then kept $250 and sent me $250 back. There is a lot of road construction in the district. That was overdue. We have to do road construction. I'm a firm believer that we have to keep our infrastructure in place, but that is minor compared to the bailouts, the amount of money for Wall Street, the keeping General Motors alive when it really basically should have been left to fail. So for the value or for the expense and for the drag on our future economy, don't forget this stuff is not being paid for. This stuff is being charged to our children. Our grandchildren are going to have to pay all this money that's gotten spent, and we have not seen anything happen in the economy. We're still at close to a 10% unemployment rate, and we need to let the free market, we have to free up businesses, we have to let the free market decide how these things are, how they should spend their money and how we can grow.
I'm confused. You said that you didn't want Wall Street bailouts, but you also supported the TARP, which was the Wall Street bailout program.
Well, that's an interesting point. I didn't like it. It was one of those things I would have held my nose and voted for it.
And I believe Mr. Pascrell did vote for the final bill. He voted
he voted for the...
He voted against it the first time it came up in the House, then the Senate changed it and included the alternative minimum tax cut. And then he voted for the
Well, there was also a whole bunch of pork in it the second time. Yeah, first one he voted against, second one he voted for, without going into the details of the bills. But having voted for the first one passed. The second one was also passed, but that was more, there was money already allocated on the first one, and that's basically what
right, it included, the first one included the Wall Street bailout, then the Senate added a package of tax cuts, including an alternative minimum tax cut, which Mr. Pascrell said was important for this district. Well, I'll let him argue his side. Explain to me how you can be against Wall Street bailouts but for the TARP.
Again, I was for the TARP because the economy was in such terrible shape, or the credit markets were so precarious, or I was led to believe that the economy, due to the credit markets and due to all of the credit default swaps, was so precarious that the whole thing could have just collapsed. That's not really a bailout of Wall Street. What that is keeping our economy alive.
But that is the law that's referred to as the Wall Street bailout. The TARP law is the one that funded AIG and funded loans to the big banks, Merrill Lynch and Bank of America. That's the law that was the bailout. And you were criticizing Wall Street bailouts, but that's the law that provided it. So how can you say that you were against that and for it?
I was for the very first law, which did provide funds to the big companies that were on the verge of going bankruptcy. But then they continue to get more and more. There were more stimulus packages, there were more programs, which I was against.